this meeting to order at 6:30 PM on January 26, 2023. Can we get roll call?
Tim Jorgensen here. Bob Costin here.
Lester Mascon here.
Paul's got here.
Brianna Texoni here. 1C, regular board meeting agenda. Can I get a motion?
I'll move.
Second,
We do have one correction on this 1C. It says it is recommended to the board approve the regular meeting agenda for February 26th. That does need to be changed to January. Is there any other changes?
There are no other changes to the agenda for this evening. Thank you.
All those in favor?
Tim Jorgensen, I.
Austin, I.
Lester Mascon, aye.
Paul's got aye.
Brianna Texoni, aye. The agenda is approved by vote 5-0. 2A, public participation. Do we have any public participation?
Not at this time, Ms. Texon.
Thank you. 3A, closed session discussion items. In closed session, we can discuss conference with labor negotiations, public employee discussion, discipline, dismissal, release, conference with legal counsel, and student matters. 3B, adjourn to closed session. Can I get a motion?
I'll move.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Tim Jorgensen, I.
Austin, I.
Mascon, aye.
Paul's got aye.
Brianna Texoni, aye. We will enter into closed session at 6:32. board meeting at 7:30 p.m. For a flag salute. Lester will be leading the flag.
And that takes the flag and.
For B, civility statement, Ken.
Thank you. When conducting the district's business, we will strive to communicate clearly and concisely with respect for the time of others, listen objectively, carefully considering the opinions of others, understand the counterproductive effects of disruptive, demeaning, and intimidating behaviors, understand and respect district policies and procedures, and maintain a respect for the rich history of the district and the efforts of others who have served in the past.
Thank you, Lester and Ken. 5, report of action taken in closed session. The board will report any action taken in closed session as required by law. No action was taken in closed session. 6A, public comments, recognitions, and reports. Do you have public comments?
Yes, we have 2 public comment cards pulled this evening.
Thank you. Mr. Comstock, Terry Comstock. Go ahead and while you're walking up. Really quick, I'm going to read the rules for our public comments. It says, please submit a request to speak to the Board of Trustees card located on the exhibit table for any agendized or non-agendized items to the superintendent prior to the meeting. Not more than 3 minutes are allotted to any one speaker and no more than 20 minutes on the same subject. This portion of the agenda is for comments, recognitions, and reports to the board and is not intended to be a question and answer period. If you have questions for the board, please provide the board president with a written copy and an administrator will provide answers at a later date. Mr. Comstock, can you please state your name?
Terry Comstock. I'm presently the high school girls soccer coach for the last couple of years anyway. Actually, I've been at Vasquez High School since 2004. Had the pleasure of working with quite a few different athletic directors. 2 of them are present in this room. Awesome athletic directors to work for. But the whole purpose that I want to address, and I'm sure Sheldon's going to talk about it as well. Thanks for the opportunity first. We've had some situations this year with the transportation, mainly with the charter buses that we're using in Vasquez. I think I gave everyone a kind of a quick handout, so I won't sit here and read all of them. I'll let you read them at your leisure. But it's kind of, I'll skip around to a couple of them. For instance, we showed up for a bus to Ojai one day, boys and girls soccer. Picture 35 kids on a big charter bus. All of a sudden at Santa Paula, the guy takes a right, and I'm like, why are you going up through the back way to Ojai on a big charter bus like this? My biggest concern is the safety factor of it. I know a couple of you have driven that road. It's not conducive at all for a big charter bus of that size. When we got to Ojai, it was like as soon as the doors opened, half the team ran out, girls thrown up on the side and so forth like that. Again, another big issue is showing up at the school to go to places and all of a sudden there's no bus. I've had to drive kids in my own personal vehicle 3 times now, I guess, and it's a little old. I still have gas receipts if you want them, but it's just kind of one of those where you never know what's going to show up. The drivers get lost. I know Tim and I were talking earlier about why do we not use the local charter bus system that we have in Palmdale that we used for years. But I know cost comes into play and so forth, but there's got to be a better way, just something easier, whether it's using district transportation, which we've used for years, but I understand that there's not enough drivers and so forth. So I would think that with the money we pay these buses, this bus company, that there's got to be a way to hire more bus drivers or something, The transportation system of the district has always been reliable. They're very courteous. They're understanding to our needs as teams and so forth. Does that mean I'm about done? So, but it's kind of one of those where, I feel more comfortable on a charter bus, yeah, but in all honesty, I think the district has the better way of providing the transportation. So thanks again for the time. I hope Sheldon talks more about it if he does, but I just wanted to bring that up to everybody, the issues that we're having today. So thank you.
Thank you, Terry. And the second comment card that I have is Miss Costin.
Tracy Costume. So I have some concerns after viewing a clip from the last meeting. I went through the 93-page bylaws, so pretty easy read. It took about an hour and a half. First, I want to say that even though I may not agree with some of you, I do appreciate and respect that you are out there for free, working for free. And I don't believe that any of you would ever say anything nefarious or inappropriate about an employee when you're up there. I'm concerned with Mr. Falsborough as to your comments at the last meeting. After all this time, I'm concerned that you don't understand your role as a governing board member, because some of the things you said contradict your bylaws. And telling your fellow colleagues that were here at the last meeting, that the board is not to second guess the superintendent ever. I believe it is your job to ask questions in order to make informed decisions. If you call that second guessing, that's on you. I appreciate Mr. Jorgensen and Ms. Taxoni asking questions of staff in open session on agenda items. That's part of your job, and as stated in the bylaws under board duties. Why have a board if you're always going to agree and not question what's put before you? So no disrespect to Dr. Sahakian. I believe you understand you work for 5, not 1, and you're all equal. No one person has authority over the other. That's also in the bylaws. And I keep on mentioning bylaws because I think it needs to be revisited. Coming up here and sitting in the audience and then pontificating from this podium to your fellow colleagues about the PAR. The PAR is not a private document. Public employees are not privy to be anonymous. The PAR is posted for everyone to see. And if you feel uncomfortable discussing an agenda item in open session, like you're supposed to, then you shouldn't be sitting up there. Your behaviors and your comments at the last meeting were unprofessional. And I believe you owe your colleagues on the board an apology. That's all I have.
Thank you, Tracy. 6B, Golden Spotlight, Dr. Sahakian.
Thank you, Ms. Taxoni. We'll be resuming the Golden Spotlight next month at our February 9th board meeting. We'll be highlighting the Golden Spotlight once a month moving forward. Just wanted to share that with our community. Thank you, trustees. And that's my time.
7A, add a representative.
Good evening, Sheldon Sparks at a representative tonight. It's good to see you all. I wasn't here last meeting, so just a lot of things transpired, and I just wanted to make some comments on a few of them. First, I'd like to say, Mr. Mirza, thank you for everything that you've done over the last couple of years. You have been fair with that. I personally have really appreciated how you worked with us. We still have a job to do, and hopefully we can figure something out before you leave. So next thing I'd like to talk to is Mr. Mirza, or I'm sorry, Dr. Sahakian. Last week, Mr. Fallsgraf complimented you about getting that mental health grant. And I want you to know, I don't know if the community really knows exactly what that is, but you've just affected the mental health of our students for the next 5 years. And my hat's off to you. Bring it in. My understanding is that you're bringing in 8 employees, not employees, but 8 more resources to our 3 campuses. And so well done, sir. That is my hat's off to you. That should be applauded in the community. Well done. Coach Terry, no, I know you don't like this, but appreciate you, sir. You've been here about 19 years, I do believe. You have over 200 victories, the most winningest coach in Vasquez's history. You are a great mentor. You are a great role model for our students, and we are lucky to have you. You could go work at any college, you could go work anywhere you wanted to, and you chose our little school. Thank you, sir. We don't deserve you, but we are blessed to have you here. So thank you very much. Thank you very much. Buses, yes, that was a topic tonight. And so I came in August and I talked about buses, and buses is an issue. It's not just an issue for staff because it affects us. Students arrive late all the time, regularly. If you get those emails, you get those alerts, you know what I'm talking about. And I'm not here to criticize. Brittany Bleimer is doing a fantastic job. This is not her issue. It's not Mr. Saeed's issue. This is a charter bus issue. This is the issue where we're using charter buses and we don't have control over the employees. If they just don't show up, oh, sorry, we just don't show up. But we have kids and families and coaches, and we're not giving them the resources to be successful. And that's kind of what your job is to do, is to give us the tools to make so we can do our job effectively. And so the way we're doing it right now needs to change. It does. 6 months, is that an acceptable time to fix a problem? I don't know. But I do know that this can't keep going forward into next year. And so I hope you find some solutions. I know we've talked about vans. I know we've heard some rumors about buying buses. I know we're having problems hiring drivers. Man, please resolve this problem, because we're feeling it all across the district. Our students, our families, and our staff are feeling it. Please fix that problem for us, okay? I hope you know that we're in negotiations, and I appreciate that we're starting now. We had that lady at the beginning of the year who was talking about how there was a problem at the 5th grade, 6th grade. She was a teacher, but she was a parent in the community. And Mr. Fallsgraf, you asked her, how come you don't work in this district? And she flippantly said, because it's $25,000 more. And in my brain, I'll be honest with you, I kind of laughed at that, because that's $2,000 a month. And so I didn't think anything of it. And so we opened up negotiations this week, and we start looking at the local districts around us. And oh my goodness, it's true. Okay, I'll just use me as an example. I could go to another district and make $25,000 more. And I'm not here for money. If you don't know me by now, I'm here for kids. I'm here to serve my community, just like all added members are. We know that when we come to this district that we are not going to be paid a competitive wage. We know that. But the problem with that is that when teachers get burned out, when teachers get overworked, when teachers get tired, they start looking around and they go, I can work a whole lot less, make a whole lot more money, and be a lot more happier. And so a lot of our teachers, they don't live in this community. We travel in. I live in Santa Clarita. I know half my staff on Vasquez lives in Santa Clarita. We have people who drive in from Marina Del Rey, Mr. Tarazi. We have people driving in from Universal City. And so all of a sudden now the gas prices have gone up. They're starting to look around, and we want to be able to retain these teachers. And we can't retain the teachers unless we're competitive. And I know you guys can't match what Hart makes or what Antelope Valley, I get that. But you have to address the problem, because we're seeing a whole bunch of disgruntledness amongst the union. Okay, I'm so blessed that I'm not a part of negotiations this time, because I am now above the fray, and I'm not being worn out during the battle of negotiations and discussion. And so now I'm here to just present what my union is going through. And so, we look at what the other districts gave. And I hope that numbers mean something to you. I would hope that you would look at Sulphur Springs, look at Hart. Hart just finished this week. Board hasn't approved it, but look at Hart. Look at how much money that staff will be getting here next year. And I know you can't give me that. I know you can't give out of that. And I'm not requesting it. But I'm saying, if you want to retain teachers, if you want to attract teachers, not the dregs who can't make it north or can't make it south, good teachers, you're going to have to be competitive. Because if we're not, then we're just going to continue to do what we're doing. Just chasing our tail, being frustrated, and watching good teachers walk away. And so I hope that in this negotiation here, that Ada's here to partner. Hey, we have a combination argument going on right now. And I've gone to Dr. Sahakian multiple times and said, look, let's just resolve this. Let's figure this out in negotiation, in bargaining, and let's resolve this. Hey, Ada, what we're asking for is peanuts. Where we started to where we're at, we are at peanuts. Look at the numbers. Ask him. Ask them. We should resolve this. This creates dissension. This creates bitterness. The teachers look at it and go, what? You're willing to pay? The lawyers have been chasing their tail for the last 2 weeks about the same topic. How much money have you actually paid your lawyer? I bet you, and I'm not exaggerating, 10, 15 times more than what we're asking. Let's resolve this. And this is not a hard thing to do. We are not greedy. We want to be paid. And so when you throw more work on us and we look at the contract and we say, okay, combination classes, how come we're not getting paid that? And so I hear in my heart, we're not greedy. We're not here trying to stick it to you. We're here to try to survive here. We want to stay here. We want to grow roots here. But when I look north and I look south and I see $25,000 more, my ears start to ring. And so I hope you hear us. We continue to give you our best. And I hope that you continue to reward us the best of your ability. Because quite frankly, we are why families come. Teachers. Not you guys, not Dr. Sahakian, not fancy programs, the relationships that we create in our classrooms. And I've had not all of you, but I've had a lot of your kids in my classroom. I work with you. You know what teachers do. You know what we do. We do relationships. And so if we want to continue to keep those kind of people around, I hope you consider a raise. Anyways, thank you guys. It's good to see you tonight.
Thank you, Coach. It's good to see you too. 7B CSEA representative. 7C student representative to the board. Emily?
Good evening, everyone. I don't have much to say today, but at Meadowlark, on the 7th of February, they'll be having their 100th day of school. So they'll be celebrating by dressing up as 100-year-olds, and they have a lot of activities prepared for them. At High Desert, our athletics have been going great. You can see the soccer and the spirit squad and the 100-mile club are been having their practices. At the high school today, we had a game against St. Monica, and our guys soccer team won 4-0. On Saturday, they'll be having a home game at 1. Tomorrow is senior night for our girls basketball team, and they only have one senior, but if you could come and support, that'd be great. And then on the 31st, which is a Tuesday, the guys soccer team will also be having their senior night for their 2 seniors. That's all I have today. Thank you.
Thank you. 7D Superintendent's Gold Standard Report.
Thank you, Ms. Taxoni. Tonight I'll be covering student achievement, community engagement, and fiscal impact per our strategic plan. First off, student achievement. Right before winter break, Ms. Jana Largent, our incredible math and avid teacher from Vasquez High School, had her students attempt the Pringle-Ringle challenge. I had to say that several times this afternoon just to get it right, using 1 can of Pringles. The purpose of the project was to have students work together on the challenge cooperatively. She also had her students. Thank you, Alex. She also had her students most recently attempt a different challenge. It's called the paper chair challenge. Students were only allowed to use paper and masking tape to complete the challenge. This challenge was to create a chair that could hold the most weight. You can tell that it's quite intense in these pictures. The photos you see are from 2 days in her AVIC class. There you go. They're having a great time while learning. Thank you, Ms. Largent, for sharing with us the innovative ways you incorporate AVID strategies in your classroom. Thank you for sharing. We all appreciate what you do. Community engagement. Quick update to the strategic planning process. The next step in this process is to develop a strategic plan development team, which will be comprised of 25 to 30 educational partners. That's a new lingo for stakeholders, educational partners comprised of parents, staff, and community members. They'll be tasked with preparing a summary of key components based on the survey results, as well as the listening session findings. A communication piece, which you see up on your screen, for those of you joining via Zoom, was pushed out on Tuesday as a communication piece to our entire community. If you're interested in participating in the development team, you can reach out to Ms. McCauley. The email address is there. An interest list will be compiled based on the limited number of seats, and I'll continue to update the community as we move forward with this exciting process. Last but not least, most definitely, I know he doesn't like pictures, but oh well, fiscal impact. Our Assistant Superintendent of Business Services, Mr. Hassan Mirza, he has accepted a position as Assistant Superintendent of Business Services with the Ventura Unified School District. His last day with us will be February 3rd, a week from tomorrow. Hassan and his family have a desire to relocate near the beach community. I'm truly and wholeheartedly excited for Hassan, and I know he'll continue to do amazing work. I genuinely appreciate your focus, your dedication, the support not only of business services, but the following departments that you have oversight, including IT, transportation, food services, and M&O, maintenance and operations. Mr. Mirza, your due diligence, your attention to detail, your equitable practices has left this district in good financial standing for the next 3 years out. Please join me in congratulating Mr. Hassan on his next adventure. We wish you very great success. You don't need the wishes, you'll do just fine. And we wish your family the very best as well, sir. Thank you. This concludes my report.
7E COVID-19 reports.
Thank you. In the Acton Agua Dulce surrounding areas, there have been 43 new cases of COVID-19 since our last report from January 12th to January 25th, yesterday, Wednesday. In our school community, there have been 4 positive cases reported since January 12th. We want to remind parents once again to test their students if they have any symptoms and to keep them home just for precautionary measures if they have fever, vomiting, or an unusual cough. Again, home test kits are available at each and every school site, your local pharmacy, using your Medi-Cal, Medicare card if that applies, or check with your insurance. We ask that all families document their home results on the primary health platform. And we want to again thank you, Ms. Carey, for her timely and informative updates. This concludes the COVID report. Thank you.
Thank you. 7F submissions.
We do not have any submissions this evening. Ms. Taxoni, thank you.
All right, 8 board comments. Tim.
Thank you. First up, congratulations to boys soccer for a, was it 4-0 victory over St. Monica? Coach Peter and Coach Comstock have been giving our soccer program the absolute best in world-class coaching, training, teaching, education of our ladies and our gents in soccer. And Terry's a winning coach. I still have a grudge against him because he's the only one that made it to the championships. I only made it to the semi. So anyway, so the congratulations go to the coaches who work their tails off for our student athletes. All right, I'm going to touch base on this bus thing again. Because what Coach Comstock talks about, I had experience with when I was coaching. And I know that if we have school buses and people to drive those buses that are properly trained, things work out pretty routine. We're in a difficult circumstance, as is every other school district around. But when he talks about Route 150 going to Ojai, that I went on it one time with my bus and I told the bus driver, I said, well, we're not going back that way. You're going to go the way I want and go around the safe route, because the paramount safety, the coach is responsible for those athletes on that bus. And to me, whoever we hire to transport our students is told the coach on that bus is the boss. He wants to go this way, you go this way, go that way, whatever, in the safety of that. So, and it's my understanding that we're using a charter service to help fill the gaps from outside of our local area. We had Antelope Valley Transport, or Antelope Valley, whatever it is now, on Avenue S that we used for years. Yeah, it's cost us a little more money. And I'm not sure why we're not using them, whether it's dollars and cents or whether it's scheduling. I kind of think part of it is that we don't put our reservations in soon enough to get in the queue, because we're competing with a lot of schools. And if we know our schedule and we know our travel trips, we can always cancel. We need to put those in sooner rather than later so we can get in the queue. And then as a secondary, I think I'd like to see if we could consider, every time we've gone out of area for bus transportation, we have problems. Whether it be school transportation for America, or whether it be charter services for whatever, when they come from long distances, they fail to realize somewhere in the queue it gets lost, and then our student athletes don't get to go to their scheduled events. And that's one of our draws. 28%, 30% of our student body participate in athletics. It's one of the things that draws students to come here. We need to invest in something that will give us sustainable reliability while we overcome whatever shortcomings that are in our own transportation. Knowing that I know that they're working on that, but I just want to go along with what Coach Comstock talked about and Coach Sparks. There's room for everybody to participate and make this better. Scheduling, getting my schedule out sooner, getting the reservations out 3, 4 months, 5 months in advance. We know our schedule's coming. Terry and I worked together for years and years and years, and we had hiccups now and then, but nothing to what I've heard about in the last year. And I understand that we have shortages, but that doesn't mean we drop the ball and say, oh, it's just shortages. We still need to work harder to make sure that we make that happen. In 2000, I came to Vasquez. I could have gone to Hart District. I could have gone to the Antelope Valley. I did not want to go there because there were 3,000, 4,000 kids on a campus. I came to this school, this district, because I could get to know every student on the campus, whether they were in my classroom or not. Back then, things were really good. We know that we're doing it, but we're working hard to address the concerns that we are doing, what our staff is doing when the negotiations. This isn't the place for negotiation. But my comment is, I came here in 2000 and I stayed for 18 years, and I had multiple opportunities to go elsewhere, and I chose not to because of the draw of the community and the school and the relationship with my students and my colleagues. That's our draw that you can't get when you go to Hart High School, when you go to Sulphur Springs, and you go to these big districts that we're surrounded by. You're competing with tons of people, and you're limited. You don't have that freedom to meet the needs of our students on an individual basis. So that's a huge draw for us. And then finally, Doc. So, Mr. Mirza, Dr. Sahakian put it very succinctly, very accurately. You have been excellent at what you do. You have prepared our district, maintained the district. You've prepared, you and your staff have prepared financial reports that have gone to LACO and without hesitation, get glowing reports for satisfaction and participation by you and your staff to take our small district from years of questionable and marginal behavior when it comes to financial management. Your immediate predecessor started the ball rolling. You picked it up and carried it forward. You've availed yourself to obtain and look for grants to help save money. Electric buses, which are in the pipeline, takes time to get it, but we're in the pipeline, and that's based on you and your staff, along with Dr. Zahakian. So enough can't be said about all the hard work you've done for our small district. When you do great things, you get a chance to move on, and you've done great things. And I, along with everybody around you, want to wish you the very best for you and your family. I do want to let you know that they did film Jaws in the beaches off of Ventura, so make sure that you have a floaty vest, because there's a real riptide there when you go to the beach. And when I drive by, go to Santa Barbara, I'm going to honk every time I go by to see if you're there. But anyway, everything aside, Hassan, thank you for your professionalism, your humor, your levity, your spontaneity, and your ability. I wish you'd get your doctor. I'm not coming to any appointments in Ventura. It's too far away. Sorry. But I want to wish you all the best. It's been my pleasure to work with you, and your presentations to the board have been clear, succinct, and easily for all of us people who are not good with numbers. We could read them, we could understand them, and you were able to do that work, and we appreciate it. Thank you very much. That's all I have to say.
Bob?
Yes, hello. So I think Mr. Jorgensen is very, very, very clear about the bus situation. I think we can do better. Charter buses, I've taken a lot of charter buses when I worked in the film industry. And let me tell you, charter can be a wonderful way to move around. I think we just need to do better with who we choose for our chartering service. And I think we heard you, and we need to do better for our athletes. Mr. Mirza, I sat down with him for about an hour the other day, and I have to say, I don't think I've ever met anybody more organized than you are. A perfectly clean desk and everything at your fingertips on your computer. So you're going to be a hard man to replace. So I just wanted to say thank you for the clarity that you were able to provide and the 2 years that you put into our district. We wish you the best, and gonna miss you because you do make it easy. You really do. And you look at your org chart, and it's got 20 blocks under it, and they're all being taken care of. So really do appreciate your time here. And the last thing a little bit is the strategic planning. I stressed last meeting how important this is for everybody. Please, anybody on Zoom, anybody here, the door's open. It's been announced. So if you want to be on the strategic planning, and it's not hard work, it's just a little bit of your time. You just bring in your ideas, you pass them around the table, and hopefully some will stick. Hopefully people will agree, and we'll come up with a set of goals and that everybody agrees on, and we can turn into a strategic plan that resembles something that was discussed. And to me, that's the most important thing. So without the discussion, we don't know what to do with the strategic plan, and we want to make sure that what we end up with looks like what the community is, what they've asked for. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Lester?
Thank you. I think enough's been said on the charters. Obviously, situation you've outlined here, not something you ever want to have happen. And thank you for what you did. Hassan, we haven't spent a whole lot of time together, but your work speaks for itself. It's easy to understand, it's well put together, and inspires a high level of confidence. So good luck replacing him with someone that can meet the standard that it's set. That's all I have. Thank you.
Mr. Hassan, it's been described that I have very unique tactics from speaking from the audience. I would imagine that maybe your Ventura School Board might see them in a last ditch effort to keep you here. When is that first meeting? Okay, but in reality, I remember the days when it would take a nod from the dais, the person up here for the finance director or assistant superintendent to be able to say anything about the budget. And that annoyed me very much. And then we went into a period of time where there were grand jury investigations going on and the state auditor was in here. Imagine the honor of being 3 school districts in California that were the subject of a state auditor. And the board couldn't know anything about what the superintendent or the person in your position was testifying to the grand jury. I would like to say and give recognition to Lynn David, who was here during all of that and was, I think they invented copper wire by you and Lynn David fighting over a penny. But nonetheless, when you got here, about the time you got here, the charter stuff just collapsed and there were payouts. And I look at numbers. This administrative team has put together what is the equivalent of about $1.5 million average per year for the next 5 years in money that it does not come through ADA, that is not COVID related. This is having people that have experience at much higher levels coming here to see to it that this district is managed financially in a way that's safe. Because without fiscal safety, there is no safety. You feel like everyone is the foot's ready to drop. Everybody knows by now we're in the middle of negotiations. I'm not going to say anything about negotiations or what's going to happen. That happens back there. But you've been around a couple of negotiation cycles, and not everybody understands it because we have a reserve. That doesn't mean that you can just spend away. The minute you trigger deficit spending, the county starts looking a little bit deeper. So you have never got us close to deficit spending. And I know that there are times where things pop up, unfortunate things, things that I'd like to think that could have been avoided, but they're just dropped right in your lap. And, you know, I wouldn't like to hear your language when you get home, but you've done well managing those things, even those things. In all seriousness, the way that you are able, with again, the superintendent doesn't sit up here and hide behind other staff and ride your coattails to make himself look good. The last one didn't do that either. So I appreciate it. I come in from an environment where the director of finance is double barrel with the city council saying, change this number out. What if this happened? What if our TOT collapsed? Blah, blah, blah. I've been able to have those kinds of conversations with you dynamically where you're changing numbers on the board, and you can't get any more transparent than that. I know that you knew I knew the answers. But there's times when you really have to be able to tell the public, hey, this is kind of what's going on. And if I'm up here making your life hard, at least on the level, and you're just that responsive, again, you guys are a great team. And the way you make yourself available dynamically, like right now with numbers, what if this, what if that? It pains me to see you go. It's too bad that there are labor laws and other laws that stop me from doing what I need to do to keep you here. How's that for behavior? Anyway, I want to talk about, I went to the LACS meeting, Los Angeles County School Trustees Association meeting. It was in Palmdale at the Palmdale Learning Center. First thing I want to say about that place and the Palmdale School District is there's, I guess, a Palmdale promise, because everywhere you look, I think everybody had a tattoo that said Palmdale promise. I think my car had a sticker that said Palmdale promise on it when I left. There's something to be said about that. And it's about cohesion between the superintendent and the board members. It's about realizing that the superintendent is the educational leader of the community. He's not on the nose ring of the community. The superintendent and the cabinet are hired to be the educational leaders here. And Mr. Mirza, that position ensures that they have the money that they need to be able to do that. This isn't just a cookie cutter thing. We hire an educational leader and a board that understands that you are behind the priorities of the educational leader, which are defined. We already have a strategic plan. The community worked very hard on it. It was Kelly Jensen's version of the Palmdale Promise, and everybody participated. And the one thing I want to call to your attention, maybe people don't realize it, but every time the gold standard report comes up and the superintendent gives a report, there are numbers that are reported on. And those are direct measures of how what the district is doing stacks up against the existing strategic plan. That makes it a live document. I see too many buzz phrases come in where people go to conference, they come back strategic, this, succession planning, that. They hire some consultant, and the celebrations at the end, when you get a book that thick, listing all the board members with their names and everybody else's name, and it sits on a shelf and becomes a dead document. The best boards, even at the state level, decide what's really important. There's consensus and focus on what the superintendent's educational goals are. If those are poor, you find a new superintendent. They're hard to find nowadays. When you got people bringing in money, millions of dollars to replace a $4 million sudden overnight deficit of charter funding, I don't call that bad leadership. When you see, okay, Brianna, it's your time. I haven't tore into you yet, so I'm about to. Last time you heard President Taxoni, it's President Taxoni. She is the spokesperson for the board, not me, not anyone over there. Next year, whoever, you'll all have your chance. But at this time, President Taxoni has put some things out there that are her priorities. The first ones were kind of hallmarky, but I like them. But there was one in there that made a lot of sense to me, and it was about health, mental health. I've seen for way too long a stigma that goes with having a problem because you're having a bad day. You've got socioeconomic issues, you're a sped kid, you're not learning, you're ostracized, you're out on the fringe of things, and you just can't catch a break. And then finally, you do something stupid or you hurt yourself, and a 5150 call seems to be the first step people take. And that is changing very rapidly. So what I liked about your priority or your initiative was that you're smart enough to look at what your superintendent's goal is and to time your initiative at a time where these people have gotten the funding to make it real. The measurability of it is kind of scary for me because student records are sensitive, at least most of us know that. But the fact that you are lining up your initiatives as a president with the realities of the budget, I congratulate you on that. I would suggest that everyone on this board take a look at your president's priorities and ask yourself what you can do to support those priorities. Your day is coming up here, and I suspect that when your day comes, you will have priorities that are important to you. And if they line up with the state superintendent, the county office of education superintendent, and your own superintendent, you will have a winner. These people have brought 100 kids back just this year. It's unfortunate that somewhere 100 kids were lost. But in my wallet, that's $1.1 million stacked on the other 1.5 million is coming in every year. You're doing a fantastic job. Cohesive boards produce successful superintendents. If your superintendent's evaluation is poor, that means you suck as a board, bottom line. I want to talk a little bit, I'm almost done, about the school safety plan presentation. I was kind of watching what was going on. You've got different school boards at tables, and some of them seem to be like very much in tune, and they were talking about staff. There were breakout sessions. I was floating around. Oh, by the way, we heard from Sergeant Schaefer, who I think some of us know in town. he and his team have that to do. They also have something to do with all these illegal drug houses that are popping up that team is running out here. I congratulated him and suggested he pass on our best wishes as a school board to his team that is taking our streets back very close to Meadowlark School. Anyway, my contribution to this discussion we had was, I think it's really important if you expect teachers to be the front line on protecting their students. I think it's a good idea if the teachers feel that they are part of what's being protected. So the last time I went to the high school, there's film up, you can't, they can see who's out there, they can see the threat. I don't care who you are. If you sit up here, everybody knows who I am. I got a target on my car. I'm easy to spot. But when I go to the high school or any school, it's my job to put my card up for the Raptor system. You have to model the behavior expect. The sheriff's department said in that meeting over there, the Raptor system has been a big deal because people show up working for contractors and things that do not belong anywhere around kids. So encourage, if you are a community member, you go there every day. If you're an employee, you have a pass. But if you visit a school site, insist that and make it easy for staff to be protected. At the end of the day, something I am happy to see tonight on the agenda, and I'll have comments, is this idea that we're going to understand better for the sake of the board and the community what the business services department is. I also think it's a good idea that we know our share of, other than making the call, the final, when we really need them. And I remember there was a program through the PTSO called Know Your District several years ago. And that program consisted of bringing different entities of our organization and community organizations such as public safety, and making those people available to tell the public and the parents and the staff who they are, what they do, what their organizational structure looks like, what their budget is, what their operational constraints are. So I would very much like to see this program that you're talking about tonight go into other areas up to and including the public safety of people that appeared at the Know Your District thing. That was a very successful program. It mimics a program where I work and in several other forward communities. So it's terrible that you will not be sitting there. I'm not, I kind of did myself poorly on the last PARS report, so I can't pull you out to vote no, but know that I would. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to start my board comments with sending my condolences to the family of Mr. Jim Duzick. Mr. Duzick was a past board member. He was a local realtor as well as a very involved community member for years and years. From the time that I was a little girl, I remember him. Mr. Duzick passed away last Sunday after a long, hard-fought battle with ALS. I remember Mr. Duzick as just being a very kind, calm, compassionate, highly intelligent man. He always had this little grin on his face. Always, like when I picture him, I just picture his little grin. He wasn't out getting attention. He wasn't a very loud man, but you knew when he was there. He was a very he was an awesome presence to be around. Jim's family will be holding a graveside service at Acton Cemetery on Monday, the 30th at 1 with a celebration of life to follow. In lieu of flowers, Ms. Duzick would like any donations to go to teamgleason.org, an organization with a mission to empower people with ALS to live purposeful lives. So I'm going to ask that everybody please keep Jim's wife Geraldine and his kids Brandon, Charlene, and Caroline, and the entire Duzick family in your thoughts and prayers. Next, handbells. I recently joined the adult handbells program. We've met twice. I'm having an absolute blast. So I want to thank Mr. Rowland, and he would kill me if I call him Mr. Rowland. So I want to thank Larry and the entire Handbells family for welcoming me into Handbells. And I want to thank everybody, including Mrs. Van Ornum, who has to stand next to me, for having an incredible amount of patience with my outstanding musical ability. We're having a lot of fun. So if you guys haven't been a part of Handbells or seen Handbells or anything, it's really a blast. Thank you, Emily. Have a good night, kiddo. I'm definitely looking forward to the girls' basketball game with their senior night tomorrow night. And I'm really, really hoping to get to some soccer games. I hear all the time how much we're missing out by not attending soccer. They're exciting games, right? I definitely need to get out there, and I'm looking forward to the 100th day of school celebration at Meadowlark on February 7th. So thank you to Ms. Moynihan for the invite to that. Mr. Asan, I was on the interview panel when you interviewed for your position. That was back when I was an actual employee. Board members don't go on interviews. But I was an actual employee. I was the president of CSEA at the time. And I knew then that you were going to bring something special to our district. I could tell in your interview, and it was over Zoom, so it was awkward interview times. But I could tell in that interview that you were special, and I knew that we weren't gonna have you long. I knew that you were going to follow some big dreams, and I too dream of living at the beach. So congratulations. Thank you for your contributions to our district, and good luck in your new district. They're definitely lucky to have you. And that's all from my board comment. Item 9A, approval of consent calendar items, which includes B, the minutes of the regular board meeting from January 12th, and C, the warrant register. Can I get that moved in?
Ballscraft move.
Lester second.
Do we have any discussion or changes to the warrant register? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Dave Jorgensen,
Costa and I.
Mask on, aye.
Ballscraft aye.
Brianna Texoni, aye. The consent agenda is approved by a vote 5-0. 10, a personnel action report. Can I get a move?
I will move.
I will second. Discussion? Hearing none, call for question. All those in favor?
Dave Jorgensen,
I'm Costa and I.
Mask on, aye.
Ballscraft aye.
Brianna Texoni, aye. The personnel action report is approved by a vote of 5-0. 11A, Corey Engineering and Testing Incorporated proposes solar array installation, Acton Campus, Meadowlark, Vasquez High School, and High Desert School. Can I get a motion?
Ballscraft move.
Mask on second.
Discussion? Oh, sorry.
That's okay. I'll defer to our Assistant Superintendent of Business Services, but as part of the solar panel project, engineering and testing of the soil of the sites, including the district office, is a prerequisite. And with that, there is 3 contracts that are being presented by Corey Engineering and Testing for approval this evening by the board. I'm not sure if Mr. Mirza has any additional comments.
No, I think Dr. Sahakian said it. So they're going to be, this is not for the installation, but they'll be making sure all of our like metal arrays that are being brought to be installed are meet code and regulations. And they're also doing the inspecting of all of our materials. And this is a requirement from to have the solars installed. And so so this company is contracted out through Luminance. And so since there is some conflict of interest why they couldn't pay them directly. So this is a one-time payout from the district, and we're going to take the invoice and rebill it back to Luminance to get reimbursed, because we shouldn't be paying any out-of-pocket costs for the solar.
Thank you. Discussion? Tim?
Has there been any changes to the layout and the design at the different campuses?
The only complication that they're having was the Acton Elementary School. The fire marshal has declared that fire panel is out of date and the fire alarm system there is out of date. So the discussions right now are to move those solar panels out of the Acton Elementary School to add them to Vasquez solar panels. And since why Vasquez and not, split up the solar panels equally, we asked the contractors, our solar company, that is because Vasquez is still in DSA approval, whereas these other two, the other three sites, including the district offices, they're ready to start construction sometime the end of this month. So it would just push back the timeline a lot more if they tried to split up the panels equally across all the sites. So the easiest way to do it was to add the panels to Vasquez, and that would allow for those panels to be distributed there.
Are they going to be expanding in the footprint where they are up behind the scoreboard, or are they going to be used in a different location?
It'll be the same.
Just going to make it a larger footprint up there because we have available space there.
Yes.
Okay, that's all I have. Thank you.
Just curious, when we are expanding Vasquez, will it be a case where there's possible overgeneration and we may not recoup the same amount of savings?
Not according to the projections made by the solar company. But that is a possibility because they're just projections.
Okay. And just curious about the timeline on being reimbursed.
Well, as soon as we get the contract approved here, we've received the invoices already, so it's just a matter of us cutting the check and scanning over the copy to the company. And so we should see a reimbursement within, hopefully by the end of this month or beginning of early next month.
Okay, thank you.
Just for public awareness and context, this solar panel project predates me being on the board, so decisions were made 6 years ago. Last time it was discussed, someone unmentioned in the audience had to remind me that I was actually on the board when this happened and how I voted. So this is an old deal. I think the most important takeaway is that Acton School is still not DSA approved. That's this place. And when I'm looking for floor space next year, when more kids are coming back, store that one. You can escape that, but the rest of them can't. I think it's good that the company that's putting the thing isn't hiring their own engineering, so we can just kind of ignore that earthquake fault that is over there and put it wherever we want to save a few bucks. So this is just keeping everybody clean. And before they get the job start, you can probably force them to pay this bill. Okay, so we're relatively sure they'll reimburse us. I don't recall there being a huge outlay for these solar panels for the district to put them up. I don't recall there was cash involved where the district had to pay. So the overgeneration is part of getting stuff for free. So if somebody gives me a free car, I don't ask them to put gas in it later, right? Okay.
I don't have any questions. Call for question, all those in favor?
Tim Jorgensen, aye.
Austin, I.
Vasco, aye.
Balls drop by.
Brianna Texoni, I pass with a vote 5-0. 11B, agreement with SPSG Incorporated for consulting services to implement the mental health services professional demonstration grant. Dr. Sahakian.
Thank you. So the mental health demonstration professional.
Move. I'll move.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm so sorry. Ken moves.
Second,
Thank you. The mental health demonstration professional grant requires grant evaluation to be conducted, and SPSG is the consulting services for that for the grant evaluation. So they provide the grant evaluator. The funding comes directly out of the mental health demonstration grant of 3.5 million over 5 years. So there's no funding encumbrance of general funds of the district.
Thank you. Discussion?
And that their task is to make sure the money is spent where it's supposed to be spent in the right places, right?
And
It's
that's
kind of like a watchdog to make sure that it's done right.
correct, that we are maintaining the scope of work as presented in the RFP,
Right.
the request for proposal.
Thank you.
All those in favor?
Tim Jorgensen,
Costa, I.
Mascot, aye.
Balls, aye.
Brianna Texoni, aye. Passes with a vote 5-0. 11C, professional services agreement with Efficiency Incorporated. Can I get a motion?
I'll move.
second,
Thank you. Again, with the mental health demonstration grant, there's a requirement that we collect data, confidential data on how we're doing in terms of meeting the goals of the grant. There are 3 reports annually to be submitted by my office to the U.S. Department of Education. Efficiency Incorporated keeps confidential data so that we can report back to the U.S. Department of Education. And the funding for this agreement comes directly from the grant and no encumbrance of district funds.
Discussion?
You referenced goals, annual goals for the use of the money. Are those presented to the board?
Yes, so there'll be annual reports based
So
on the
what a
goals.
Fight over is probably not it's probably not a good deal, maybe.
Should we repeat that?
So if we're ahead of the game, or we actually know what the superintendent wants to do and don't fight you ad nauseum, that's probably looks good to the auditor, maybe.
Oh, I would think so. Yeah.
So that's all I have. Thank you.
I don't have anything. Call for question. All those in favor?
Tim Jorgensen,
Costa, I.
Mascot, aye.
Balls, aye.
Brianna Texoni, aye. That's a vote 5-0. 11D, business services overview.
Thank you. Recently, we had our trustees request from a couple of departments from the district office, one being business and the other HR. HR, Human Resources, will be presenting their practices and hiring practices and the oversight of personnel at the February meeting coming up. But tonight we have business services. And we have Mr. Mirza presenting here for the last time, an overview of business services to our trustees and our community. Mr. Mirza.
Good evening, board members. So yeah, like Dr. Sahaki mentioned, we'll be going over the business services overview. So we'll start off with the org chart. So this position reports directly to the superintendent, but then we have several layers to this position. As you can see, the director of charter, this position has direct oversight of, which oversees 12 different charter schools. Our charter director kind of oversees the MOUs and the outlook of the development of relationships with the charters, where this desk actually does the fiscal oversight. We review all of their 12 budgets that they send. Every single report that we have to do, they also have to do. And so we serve as their county oversight, like LACO serves our oversight. And so we have to do the same due diligence and look into their facilities and all their fiscal matters. As we move forward, the school nurse, this position is also responsible for, as you guys know, what regular nurse duties are, to maintain all the vaccinations, take care of all the health and welfare of our students out there. Obviously, Nurse Carrie is one-man show, and that's quite a bit for the entire districts. Food coordinator services. What can I say? Child nutrition is a huge department. I mean, you have to make sure you're in program compliance. You have state and federal program guidelines you have to abide by. You have to also at the same time file your state and federal reimbursement. Meal applications is a yearly process that is really important to the school district, because the meal applications actually, the more we collect, if we get to a certain percentage level, it brings in additional revenue for the district. upwards up to like $2 million. So and that magic number is 55%. Currently, our food services director has got it up to 63%. So that's quite a bit of a accomplishment. Underneath, after food services, you have M&O. And we'll get into the details of M&O. Then on top of that, you have the actual business department, which is payroll, accounts payable, and then our IT department as well. And then outside of food services, as you can see, the food services director has all the utility workers, the cashier, lead transportation, because it's actually coordinator of food service and transportation. All the bus drivers, mechanics fall under that department. And let's go to the next slide. This is just a sample budget calendar. Barely see it, but there's some, this kind of highlights all the main deadline and reporting periods that the business office does. So the first interim report was due December. Then you have your LCAP review meetings. You have May revise, you're preparing the LCAP budget changes. So it kind of gives you an outline of when our whole year, a glance, and when are things due and what are we doing during those particular months. Next slide, please, Alex. So as we develop the budget, there's obviously available funds that we can use. There's several different strategies that one can utilize, and working with the superintendent's office, we kind of work back and forth to decide, okay, where are we? How is our, how's our climate? How are we doing? Are we overspending, underspending? Where do we want to allocate the funds? Do we want to build our reserve levels because the out years, the state is projecting a deficit and we're not seeing, revenue coming in? Or do you want to add additional compensation increases? Do you want to add new programs such as the Makerspace, Career Tech Labs? Or, are there identified LCAP costs, which is our local control plan that we could shift money to? So it's kind of like balancing act and figuring out where, and so no one year is the same as the other, where one year you may focus on additional compensation, the other year you may want to go to program development or meet somewhere in the middle. So going right into it, we have one payroll staff, for the entire district. We have responsible for making sure we're in compliance with all federal state laws, payroll processing. You have to make sure you're classifying everybody correctly, certificated, classified. You're dealing with STRs and PERS, making sure you're doing all the salary computations correctly. Those are just some of the samples of the salary computation: normal, retro, deferred pays, late hires, termination adjustments, making sure everybody's retirements are up to date. You also have wage and tax reporting, W-2s, any payroll reconciliation, and on top of that, that position manages our benefit plan, which is with CBT. Going forward to maintenance operations, they have a huge job, and hats off during us tomorrow, because there's all types. Anything could happen, anything could break down. It really depends what's happening in the operations as of that day. So currently, Ernesto is working with our architects with the solar project, and also with the high desert field that we're trying to work on. Any type of risk management, custodial grounds, you name it, security, inventory management, property liability, it's all falls under maintenance operations. Quick overview, like you said, responsibilities, building systems, HVAC, plumbing, electrical, carpentry, roofing. Those guys they're busy. They're busy and they do a lot of work. Next slide, please. Charter school, we kind of recently touched on. We have Shay, which is our charter director. She works with me directly to work with our charter partners, which is about 12 charters that we have, to kind of go over all of their MOUs, make sure that they're preparing their financial reports and they're fiscally solvent. Next, technology. 2 staff members that take care of technology for the entire district. You have Caesar and Alex, which are constantly busy. I kind of put a picture up here because they do a lot of the background work that people don't see, making sure all the teacher laptops are up to date, all of our servers, everything, communication. Not only that, they work with E-rate and try to rebuild our infrastructure, making sure our internet speeds up to running. They also copiers, printers, and troubleshoot everything that makes this place go and makes our lives easier at work. Transportation, heard a lot about tonight. I know it's been an ongoing problem. Just some of the responsibilities, dispatching. We have the routing and scheduling. We've shifted over to a online, not a manual system of keeping track of routes, so a digital version. And so there's some training involved in that. You have, two-way radio talking, emergency procedures, accidents, field trip booking and billing. We don't have a van yet. But next, we have DMV pull notices. We're doing certifications, making sure the drivers are up to date with all of their licensing. Currently, we have 3 new drivers that we've hired. One should be cleared by the end of this month. He'll be actually part of the driving team, and the other 2 are still working on getting their certifications and testing done with our CHP. So they have a little bit of time with those additional drivers. Transportation should be okay. That's 3 additional drivers that we'll be adding to the staff. And so everything with transportation, ordering buses, mechanic certifications, CHP inspections, you're dealing with the CHP audit here, purchasing tires, replacement, applying for grants, all of that falls under transportation. Food service, we touched on. You have obviously your employee management, filing bank deposits, claim, state and federal revenue, yearly program audits, training for staff, ordering equipment, supplies, grant application, no applications. Accounts payable and purchasing is one position here, and it's quite a bit responsible. We're not going to read every single thing, but processing all payment, billing invoices, special ed invoices, excess costs, weekly warrant registers, all W-9s, 1099s. This position is really busy, and it's in constant communication with the school sites as well, and trying to help them train and get the new secretaries up to speed of the processes and checks and balances. So end of year closing, on top of that, you're reconciling all your outstanding POs, going over, working with LACO to make sure they have all the backup needed, that once the PO is approved, she's working with the LACO side to make sure that a lot of times they ask for board meeting minutes and board backup to make sure that they cut the check and send it to us. So contracts is another area we don't have a specific position for, but I kind of oversee this along with any interaction that I have with the department that I'm working with that needs that specific type of contract. Then we also have attorneys that we reach out to. So these are just some of the specific types of contracts we deal with. Obviously, our CBA collective bargaining agreements, our charter MOUs, any settlements, any consultants or legal maintenance agreements. And so primary considerations for a contract requires 2 parties, both with the ability and authority to contract, offer an acceptance and consideration for each. Authority to enter contracts is obviously the board must approve and ratify all the contracts. Agenda items must be submitted in advance and backup must be included. Obviously, the board can delegate the authority to either the superintendent or assignee to enter into a contract, and the scope could be determined, like how much can the superintendent approve before you go to the board. But either way, say the superintendent or I get into a contract, we still have to bring it to the board for you guys to approve either way. And so if the contract is not approved or ratified by the board, it may get void, could mess up our relations with our vendors that we deal with, and the contractor may not get paid. And then the actual employee that entered into that contract without proper authority may be personally liable as well. So there's several different types of contracts. You have business, construction related contracts, contracts for construction, professional services, and they each have their individual guidelines as far as when you go out for bidding, the bidding limits. And we're not going to go into every single thing, but here's some ideas what professional services are: architectural, landscape surveying. Next slide, Alex. For professional services, there's no bid threshold. Selection must be based on demonstrated competence. Next slide. Special services are accounting services, legal services, insurance services. There is no bid or competition required. Pretty much they can be selected if they're specially trained to perform those services. Then you have construction group services, which is erection, alteration, renovation, improvement, demolition, and repair work involving any publicly owned or operated facility. Construction services, you have the bid threshold of 15,000. If you're a Cupca district, that automatically raises your bid to 60,000 for informal and 200,000 for formal. We are not a Cupca district. Next slide. Purchase of equipment and material supplies. You have to really pay close attention to LACO's bulletins because this is increasing every year. So currently the bid limit, competitive bid limit increases to 109,000. So if it exceeds that, then you have to go through the formal bidding process. Next slide. The next couple of slides are just kind of an outline and a guide of what you guys could have for reference. It kind of tells you what type of contract, if bidding is required and applicable public law or contract code. So we're not going to get into, you guys can use that. It's just a reference tool. And so with that, any questions?
First, I think it's compliments to you and your staff putting this together, and that we have enjoyed compliance with this organization, that we haven't had any real disputes or problems or issues other than the people who provide the lights, but we've got that under control. I noticed on the one part on transportation, there's vans. You say we don't have any vans now. Is that something that's in the future or what?
We've had discussions of purchasing vans specifically for transportation.
Or to help out with transportation on select services, primarily athletics and small venues.
In the past, last year, you guys approved a bus that we're still waiting for, and we hope to have it hopefully by this summer. So we don't want to allocate any additional funds for a van until, because we have money tied up in that bus right now. But
Right.
yes, it's definitely a viable option for the region.
But that's something that I see it here, which I like seeing the word there, so somebody can come back and say,
Yeah.
maybe we need to look at either lease or whatever. We don't have to buy them, but seasonal lease them when we need them.
Yeah.
And have the appropriate people trained in appropriate, that they can do that to help facilitate some of these transportation issues. Again, good work, Hassan. Appreciate it. Thanks.
Field trip booking and billing would be the same category that we have our charters for our sports.
So yes, we get this particular department deals with booking, billing all the field trips. We get the information from the athletic director and sometimes the principals over to us. And then, if obviously based on the collective bargaining agreement, we have to ask our bus drivers first, by seniority, who's willing to take those extra routes, but we can't force them. If they say no, then you have to go to the charter route. We always ask our internal employees first.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much for putting that together. It was very informative, and I don't have any questions on it. Thank you. Thank you.
Hassan, I am going to ask you if you can try to tell me how many full-time equivalent positions you have running your entire operations you're responsible for.
The services we have about 9, 9, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, about 9, 10.
So you have,
Yeah.
so you have 9 people. Does that include you?
It includes the managing and oversight, and then you have
So
your
all the people.
2025, 2025, yeah.
Everybody,
Bus drivers included, we're talking food service
okay, so
employees.
let's just talk about the administration team, the people who are in the office working as management analysts or clerks or actually doing the compliance work.
About 9.
So you're talking about the budget team.
Yeah, there's no team. Yeah, there's just 2, 3.
There's a punchline. Look, I know the budget, I know your bid limit is, it's on my keychain. Remember when I went? Last meeting, yeah, I know what it is. I've been here a while. So you have the budget team, you have the charter team, you have the transportation, this is all administration. You have the HR team, you have the maintenance management team.
Well, yeah, HR is a separate department, yeah.
Okay, so that's not in the
That's not-
9.
That's not in,
Well, that must be the part that they're talking about it being top heavy all the time, right? So does LACO not require that there's a fractional balance between the administrative team and the teaching staff and the support staff?
so yeah, there is a report on CDE called a teacher to admin ratio. And so that report is annually due to our independent auditor. We don't submit it to CDE, but we submit it to our independent auditor that.
So Christy Smith would have a
Christy would-
finding
Christy would,
if there were
And they-
excess.
And they look at all of the administrators that we employ across the district and look at our teacher ratio and to see if we are over or under, and if we are over the ratio, which is a small calculation that you enter in and it spits out a number. And if you're above or below a specific ratio, there's a penalty based on your state funding, and we're not over.
Well, I remember the days when there were those penalties early on when I was out there. So in other words, they will actually withhold funding because you had top heaviness in the district office versus out in the field.
Yeah, your audit, on your annual audit report, if we were not in compliance, they would report that, and then it would be a fiscal finding, and they would automatically make the audit adjustment and take the money.
That's real good for kids, isn't it? So the IT team, I'm gonna pick on the IT team now. I went to school in Oklahoma, so I'm really good with math. If he sits there for 3 hours, that's 3 hours of staff time, right? And then he has to set up, he has to tear down, he has to take all my offensive conduct and language out of the video, which ruins it, by the way. Does all that, edits it, uploads it. In my world, he's got 5 hours into every board meeting.
He's a hard liquor.
Well, do you hear what I'm saying? Out of 40 hours, 5 hours is the better part of one day, every 2 weeks. So when I hear people saying that the district office is overstaffed, no. And something else I want to call your attention is you get into bigger districts. Do you have a set of different set of compliances that they cut you slack because you're small versus Long Beach Unified or
No,
ABC school district, which is
no, we have to do the same.
Arcadia, Cerritos, and Bellflower, I think. Anyway, you have to do the exact same thing.
Yes.
So your charter team, how many? Right, we got one person. Do you have any idea how the LACO office of the charters they oversee, how many people they have on that team besides the whole 4th floor?
Not more than one.
And you don't make no money off those charters. I've talked about that enough. That scares me. So again, I think this is very healthy. I think that if people were available to understand what you all are responsible for, all of it is under compliance. Everybody's looking, there's a report to file. I think if people knew that and spent some time around here, not walking through your influence and staff and giving directives that you should be talking to the superintendent about, but just like a regular visit, and come in and see what's actually going on here, they might realize there's a lot of work happening. I would hope that at some point you carry on with your ambassador program when the timing is right. And you actually have residents and parents and constituents come in and go through a training program. So people actually know their district, know what's happening, get rid of the whatever it is. And the silliness, and just go, okay, we can trust the people we have. We know what they do this. I'm familiar with that. So when it comes time to serve on a site council, safety council, to be a great parent representative, to be a liaison to the district, and to finally sit up here, you can fast forward to the point where you understand the team here has it, the teachers have it in the classroom. Now let's figure out how to move this ahead. I congratulate you on how you've managed your division. It's sad that we're going to lose you.
This is a very detailed report, so thank you very much for putting this together. Will this information be available anywhere except just this board meeting video?
Yes, besides the attachment to the agenda item for tonight, we're going to go ahead and expand the links to different departments. And so we're going to go ahead and upload this to business services. And I do appreciate Mr. Mears's effort with the presentation. Granted, he provided a snapshot and in terms of the most important key points, but it's a very thorough presentation for anybody within the community to see what goes into procurement, contracts, payroll, accounts payable, just for the sake of transparency and the depth and detail that your department works on. And it's a team of three. Remember, team of three.
That's all I have. Thank you. 11E resolution 2022-23.07 authorizing use of remote teleconferencing provisions. Can I get a motion?
Move. Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Tim Jorgensen, aye.
Costa, aye.
Mask on.
Falls Draft, aye.
Brianna Texoni, aye. Passes with a vote 5-0. 12A calendar. We have two items on our calendar: regular board meeting February 9th, 2023 and February 23rd, 2023. Anything to add? Oh,
No.
okay. 13A future agenda items. We have governance training, masters in governance and Brown Act workshop, and HR people and ed services department overview. 14A
Hold on.
sorry. Discussion?
Tim, you got anything?
Nope.
I'd like to see us do a boilerplate contract agreements for different types of agreements that we have. Most of the contracts that we're signing, they're vendor contracts, and they should live within our own boilerplate agreement. So I'd like to see us develop some boilerplate for our most common contracts. Anybody want to second that? I'll second that.
Can we get a vote to add Lester's request for contracts to our future agenda items, Tim?
Tim Jorgensen, aye.
Costa, aye.
Mask on.
Falls Draft, aye.
Brianna Texoni, aye.
I have one. I would like to see an informational update about the charter busing contract, the terms of the contract, to include an appearance by the sales representative of that company.
Awesome.
I would like to see that happen within a month. If in 2 weeks, it's a superintendent's determination that things have changed enough not to bring these people in here and face my questioning, then so be it.
I will second that. All those in favor?
Tim Jorgensen, aye.
Costa, aye.
Mask on. Aye.
Falls Draft, aye.
Brianna Texoni, aye. I don't have anything to add. Okay to move on now? 14A adjournment, recommended the board adjourn the meeting at
So move.
8:59. Motion, Tim.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Tim Jorgensen.
Aye.
Paul Giamatti.
Brianna Texoni, aye. Meeting adjourned at 8:59 PM. That was 8:59 PM.